All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the first episode of NoCopOut. I'm here with Eric, who wears many hats. Before we get into all of that, I'm kind of talk about myself. So I'm Ish. I've been a cop for about 9 years. Started training Jiu-Jitsu about 4 years ago. I was off for injury for a year, so technically 3 years experience. I'm a blue belt. Not that that matters because that means different things in different gyms. But since I started training Jiu-Jitsu, I kind of dove into self-defense, especially for police and police tactics, and became a defensive instructor for my department, firearms instructor, and kind of just went crazy with trying to get training in. And we've implemented, our department's cool because they're kind of ahead of the curve. We've implemented like a grappling club every month. We have quarterly self-defense trainings. And still doesn't feel like enough. And when I go to other departments to speak to other officers, they have none of that. And it just blows my mind with how things have gotten lately. I kind of take responsibility to kind of inspire the law enforcement community into training and bettering themselves. And that's why we're here and started this podcast. You're watching the NoCopOut podcast. The mission is to foster open conversations and dialogues in the law enforcement community and kind of spark the hard conversations that we tend to shy away from on the public forum. And this isn't a knock to a lot of the other podcasts. There's a lot of awesome law enforcement geared podcasts out there. But what I find is people tend to shy away from the conversations, whether they get in trouble in their department or they risk offending someone. And that's not the goal of NoCopOut. NoCopOut's like, there's no excuse. Like, we took this job, right? We have a responsibility to our community, our departments, the people we work with, our families, and ourselves. You know, we don't get to, well, I don't get paid to train, or I don't get paid to do that. It's like you took a job that requires you to be a little ahead of the curve. So the whole goal is to foster open dialogue, good conversation, and go from there. So I'm here with Eric. He's been in law enforcement for about a decade, almost the same.
Yeah,
that.
Yep.
And him, along with his wife, they're involved in Adopt a Cop and Seminar Stack and all good stuff. And kind of the premise of this show, training, bettering yourselves, and doing something to give back to the community. So tell us a little bit about yourself, and we'll get going.
So I just hit my 10-year mark actually like 2 weeks ago, officially. Decade in law enforcement. Yeah. So it's pretty exciting. I love the job. I love the career. It wasn't the thing that I like grew up knowing that was what I was going to do either. I kind of found it in college, and then but once I started the work, I was like, yep, this is it. Like, this is my future, my end goal.
So it's interesting because when I talked to them, hey, why'd you get into law enforcement? My father was a cop. My uncle was a cop.
Yep, I had none of that. I'm the first police officer in my family, and the first one that does anything kind of paramilitary even. Like, I don't even have like a history of military in my clan. Like, it wasn't there.
So what was that deciding factor to become a cop?
So I grew up very, very heavily in Boy Scouts. And so that kind of gave me that kind of military aspect that you can get as a kid, I guess. Because we do like formations and drills and like camping and all that kind of stuff. Like, yeah, it was pretty intense. So that gave me that kind of structure. And then through Boy Scouts, I started doing, I was a lifeguard for like 6 years, like through high school and college and things like that. And so that kind of gave me that taste for like emergency services in a way. And so once I went to college, when I was thinking about what I wanted to do, I had a really, really big conversation with my parents about going into the military, and I decided against it. And I was like, you know what, let me go to college first. And since I was interested in military, let me start studying criminal justice. And so got my bachelor's in criminal justice, and through my college time, I was like, started learning about police and what they were doing and policing strategies and things. I was like, you know what, this is hitting really well with me. And so I just started, as I was graduating, I started applying to police departments with the intention of doing police for like 5 years and then going into federal police, like FBI, DEA stuff.
You want to go
I want to go all the way up. Yeah.
Okay.
It's like, but those special agents and stuff, they require either military experience or law enforcement experience to even get into those higher level positions. It's like, all right, you know what? I got to start somewhere. So
I got a bone to pick with the feds. No, it's like you apply for them. They're like, hey, you're not good enough. You become a cop. And they're like, hey, you want to be on our task force? Hold on. Yeah, you didn't want me then. Now you want me.
we have. Yeah.
But no, that's cool. It's an interesting story because it's always everyone goes in for a different reason. Even like, how has your career, like, you get in, right? You have this image of what law enforcement is. Now you're in it. Like, how has that image of law enforcement changed for you, grown for you? Like, how do you feel about what you've been doing?
I was definitely taken aback at first. It was a big culture shock for me, to be honest. Like, the first couple weeks of the academy, because I'm with the state police, we have a different academy kind of style and structure than the locals in Pennsylvania. Whereas, like, it's a live-in academy. You move in, and you're there for 6 months. You don't get to go home unless they tell you you can go home. So it was very much like a boot camp style experience, which is what I was trying to avoid with military.
Very paramount, yeah. Very paramount.
And so the first couple of weeks of the academy, like, I was struggling to deal with that level of military that I wasn't expecting for police. But once I got past that initial first 2 weeks of the academy where they just try and break people, and like once I got past that, I was like, then I started learning like the material and the laws and like doing the fun stuff, I guess. And I was like, all right, this is it. This is what I want. And then once I got out of the academy and you start seeing the real life scenarios, it just kind of like, there's times like you do something and you're like, yep, you just know right then and there that like, this is what you were meant for. Like, that was what was happening to me as soon as I got out. And it was like, that passion just started getting stronger and stronger. And the drive, everything with police work, I was like, yep, this is it 100%.
And we need more people like that. Cause I've worked, or seen, I get to see a lot of officers in different departments in different states, and I get to talk with them, and like, I feel it's almost become a 9 to 5 for people, and that's where a lot of our issues lie, when that passion and motivation isn't there. That stems to everything. Like, if you're not passionate about what you're doing, whether it's law enforcement, whether it's catering, whatever industry you're in, you're gonna burn out. You're not gonna like it, and you're gonna cut corners, and you're just gonna be like, blah. Yeah. When you have that passion and that drive, you lean into that field of what you're doing, and good things happen.
Yep.
I kind of had the opposite experience of, I went to boot camp for the Army. My military career didn't work out. And then I go to a municipal academy. And I was like, they're trying to instill that like the yelling and the screaming and the structure. And I'm just like, what is going on?
Did you go there and then go home at the
yeah? Oh, it was like college class, man.
Yeah,
I went there,
but they're yelling at you.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, I got PT'd, we showered, we sit in classrooms. You had to stand up when they walked in. Yes sir, no sir. And then, like, not to knock anything, because I had great instructors, but like, you're looking at these guys and you're like, dude, like, why are you yelling at me?
Yeah,
I'm gonna go home after this, eat, and then sleep, fart in my bed. Yeah, and then come back.
Yeah.
So I get the premise of it, but it was a cool experience. I went there keeping my mouth shut. I was like, I'm just gonna keep my mouth closed. And they're like, hey, we like your style. You want to be the captain? I'm like, I don't know what that means.
Of your academy class?
Yeah. I'm like, oh man.
We call them student leaders.
I'm like, oh my goodness, student leaders.
Yeah.
Yeah, because captain's a little. And they're like, we need you to pick a sergeant. I'm like, dude, we're in college. Like, essentially, this is college.
It's college. Yeah.
So something happened in your career that kind of, you're steamrolling in the career, you're having a great time, you're doing good, good's being done, and then almost changes overnight.
Yeah, I mean, it was, of course. I had, back in April of 2020, so at that point I just hit my 5-year mark. So like, my anniversary date is in March. So I just hit 5 years on the job. I was hitting my stride. Generally speaking, when you get to 5 years in law enforcement, that's when you feel comfortable with like every aspect of it, and you can start seeking those specialty positions. Like, that's where I was at. And I went to work, and I was working the midnight shift. So I was working 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. And so my last call of the shift was there was a crash on a bridge, and it was a 2-vehicle crash. And so we get there, and the truck, one truck was crashed into the barrier of the median and was partially blocking the left lane. And then the other car, we have no idea where it was. And so we pull up behind the truck, since it's actively blocking traffic, and it's 6 o'clock in the morning, and it's going to be about to be rush hour on this very heavy bridge. And so we get to the truck, pull up behind it, lights, sirens, everything's going. When we ride midnights, we have a partner with us. Usually we ride solo. Because I was in the passenger seat, my partner was in the driver's seat, and I was like, hey, you stay in the car, like, get the tow coming, fire, police, whatever, to make sure like we don't have any more incidents here. And I got out of the car, went up to check on the truck. make sure no one was inside, needed emergency assistance, you know, what might have you, like all the stuff you usually do in a crash scene. There was nobody inside the truck, so he fled. And then walked back to my police cruiser, closed the door, went to my partner. I was like, hey, there's no one inside. He's like, tow's coming. I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to go pop flares. And so right after I said that, we got hit from behind at 70 miles an hour.
While in the car.
And so it was like, I got in the car, closed the door, 5 seconds later, hit from behind. So like there was that short little conversation is the last thing that I remember. And then the next thing I remember is I'm somehow outside of the car, just pouring blood, leaned against the median, had like a quick interaction with my partner. He asked me, he's like, hey, are you okay? I was like, well, I've been better. And then blacked out again and woke up in the ambulance as they're cutting my uniform off and like bandaging up my head. And
not the vest.
Yeah.
Not the vest. Yeah. Cops always heard about cutting their vest. I had a similar, not in law enforcement, but like kind of like that blacking out. I was playing high school football, blasted the line. I also played offense team. I played everything. So I'm lining up. I'm looking at the linebacker, and he's like, "Are you good?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I woke up in an ambulance. Scariest thing ever. Like you just black out for a second. You're like, "Did I say anything? Do anything?"
Yeah. I mean, I had another incident like that when I was in college. Like I was very active. I didn't do football, but I was like big into soccer and ultimate frisbee. As nerdy as that sounds, but like, I was a goalkeeper first in soccer, and so I bounced my head off the turf. And I remember coming in at halftime and being like, "Man, like I feel weird. Like I feel fuzzy." I was like, "But I felt fine." And they're like, and then went out and played the rest of the game. But like I don't remember finishing the game. And then the next thing I knew was like it was like 8 hours later. I woke up in the hospital with like all the EKG things on my head. I'm like, "What the hell is going on?"
Hey, time travel.
Yeah. So
you have this accident, and then you're obviously off work. Like, how was that? Mentally, physically, like was it a moment where you're like, am I ever going to be in law enforcement again? Like what was going through your mind?
Oh yeah, I mean that thought still crosses my mind because like it's now 5 years later, I'm still on medical leave. It royally messed me up, and like it ripped like half of my head apart, or fractured my orbital. Like I still have my left eye doesn't I don't have smooth pursuit in it, so like
you're always drunk.
I'm like always drunk, which directly correlates to my driving ability. You know, like as I'm driving, my headaches will rapidly increase super quickly. And it's because the same reason why we pull over drunk people for not having smooth pursuit, not being able to track while you're moving because of how fast you're riding with that's happening to me. But instead of me being like drug impaired or alcohol impaired, I'm like physically impaired.
Well, one of the questions when we're doing SFST is have you had a
head trauma?
Yeah, that's interesting.
So yes, like that was a big part. Like I'm still on medical leave now. I want to get back. It's my absolute desire to get back to work, and that's how much I love it. That like after 5 years of being off and going through this mental challenges of like, am I ever going to get back? What's it going to look like? You know, I still want to, and it's been a long, arduous process, but the recovery is still going the right way. I still see myself returning to work in some capacity. It's just I don't know when that will be.
Oh, and that's the goal, right? Because given your situation, you could easily bow out and be like, "Hey, there it is, I'm done."
Yeah.
But you've remained very relentless in your pursuit to get back, and so much for that. You've become a part of helping different organizations and like fostering these conversations and giving advice, and you're still pushing to not only you get back, but to better the industry. I call it the industry. Law enforcement is not an industry, but I call it the industry because it's what we do.
In some way, it is kind of
the community.
Yeah.
Industry sounds like business. We're not in it for the money. Trust me, there's not enough money to be a cop. But you're trying to push the industry to a better direction. And I want to kick this off with a quote because as I was kind of looking into your story and everything, George Smith Patton, or General Patton, I saw a quote from him that kind of resonates with the law enforcement community, right? We're very paramilitary, and a lot of our tactics and stuff derives from military tactics. And it's the duties of an officer are the safety, honor, and welfare of your country first, the honor, welfare, and comfort of the men in your command second, and the officer's own ease, comfort, and safety last.
Yeah.
So the way I took that is like the duties of a cop is your community. That's why we take the job, right? We don't take the job for any other reason. You want to make money as a cop? How much money are you willing to get paid to get shit on, spit on, and then someone to say, I'm going to come for your, and I'm saying this because this happened to me. I'm going to come for your family, and I'm going to rape your kids while you're sleeping. How much money is that worth for you?
Yeah. Like, and that, it's very real.
Right?
Yeah.
It can be some drunk dude being stupid, or it can be a dude who remembers your name, remembers your everything from the police report, gets the police report, and then his whole purpose is to find you.
Yep.
We don't know. And you can just be like, oh yeah, sure, whatever. Or you can take it serious. So like, how much money is that worth for you? You can't put a dollar on that. So it's like, we're doing this for the community, and there's no cost. That has to be the main reason why you're doing this. And then honor, welfare and comfort of the men in your command second. So I took that as like the people you work with, the people you've taken this oath to serve with. Like, they come next. The community first, the people you work with, and you last.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, and when we talk about the use of force continuum and the priorities of life, and the officer is usually the last
one. Yeah.
You know, it's hostages, it's the community, it's innocent civilian, and then the officer.
I was actually literally just having a conversation with my wife about this week, about how we were, prepping up to come out here to film this podcast and stuff. And so we were talking about police work, and I always want to talk about it because I miss it, because I'm not doing it right now, And so it was that same thing about how the officer puts himself last at all times. Because it's like, if you're going to an incident, like, you don't have the option to necessarily wait anymore. Like, that type of training, that type of mentality is gone. It's like, if you see an issue that's happening, you got to handle it right now. And we were watching a specific incident that happened, and I had a hard time watching it, because I'm like, dude, like, you got to put yourself last right now, like, and go help this person.
The best example I could think of is very unfortunate situations, but one just occurred, a school shooting. There was just that one in Florida that happened. And as an officer responding, and we get a lot of scares, right? Like, in the area I work, there's a lot of we get a lot of calls and threats, and knock on wood, there hasn't been one. But as you're going there, you're going through, hey, is this real? Is this legit? Is this a prank? Is this a student wanting to get out of a test? Right? Like, but you can't go in with that mentality. You have to come in with the mentality of there's an active threat, and I'm the first and only person responding right now. Because you can't bank on my partner's there in 2 minutes or 30 seconds. I can hang out for 30. No, you have to go in.
Yeah, if they're that active, like, a lot of bad can happen in 30 seconds.
30 seconds can seem a lifetime. 5 seconds between that conversation and your car accident.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Probably felt like a lifetime.
Yeah, I was like, oh, it's just normal day-to-day stuff. And then boom, like, now my whole life is
so in this industry, time, there's not a lot of it. And that's why training. I'm a huge stickler on training, because with training, you can buy yourself time.
Yeah.
Especially in a self-defense situation. There was this, I'm sure you've heard of it, the Ohio trooper who had his cruiser stolen, took down a turnpike, and then Pennsylvania's finest kind of picked up the slack, if you will. I'm not politically correct, so I like to keep it real. And if hopefully no one's offended by it, because again, my intention is to have the hard conversations. I watched that video, and all of that could have been, this is Monday Night Quarterbacking. I wasn't there. I don't know the situation. I don't know what was going on in both their minds. This is me watching a video and putting my 2 cents that no one asked for. But with training, that could have been avoided. If you can control a subject, control someone until backup arrives, you just bought yourself time.
Yep.
So that's why I'm a huge stickler. What is your experience with training now? You're wearing the Adopt a Cop shirt. What is that about?
So it's an awesome program, and like, even though that I'm still on medical leave, I'm trying to do my best to keep training, so that way I'm not losing that 5 years that I've been on medical when I come back. And one of those ways that I found to do that, or actually my wife found, was through the Adopt a Cop BJJ program, and it's awesome. They sponsor active law enforcement and pay for them to go get jiu-jitsu training up until their blue belt.
So that's how I got introduced.
And that's how you got into it.
Yeah, small world.
Yeah.
half my department, actually the majority of my department, that's how we all started jiu-jitsu. We found this program at the time. We all put in for it, and we all got accepted, and we were like, "Oh, this is dope."
When was that for you?
It was 21.
So that was when they were brand new, because they started in like 2020.
Yeah, it was like March. It was like March 2021.
So I actually applied as well in 2021. Once I was like past far enough in injury where I could start doing activities again, you know, to help myself get active. I applied and I got denied.
No, I'm kidding.
No, but it made sense why I was denied, because he was like, "Hey, listen, you're not actively on patrol right now. You're on medical leave." Like, those are the reasons. I'm like, oh, you know what? That makes sense. Like, I can appreciate that. That you want to give it to someone who's like on the road and can actively actively dealing with suspects.
No, that's like, and then, but to your point, I've pushed this thing like, you got to get, like, your excuse is jiu-jitsu is expensive, which it's especially where I'm at in the Pittsburgh area. My gym, the most you'll pay for jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, the gym, the recoveries, $180 a month. Which, well, but
it's really like, if you think about it in terms of like as a gym membership, like, yeah, that's expensive.
Gym,
but you're getting so much with it.
You want to learn jiu-jitsu, you want to learn Muay Thai, you want to learn, and it's unlimited. It's not like you get 2 drop-ins a week. Yeah. You can go in 7 days a week. We're open 7 days a week. There's dudes in there and chicks, because the chicks are like, our chicks have become like crazy. They're there 6 hours a day. 6 hours a day. Yeah, I'm not getting canceled for that, because it's true. And they'll beat me up if I don't say that. But they'll be there 6 hours a day, the whole day.
Yeah.
Just training. They'll get their jiu-jitsu in. They'll go recover. They'll go do Muay Thai. Then they'll hit the gym. Then they'll take a class off, and then they'll go to the women's only class. And then from the women's only class, they'll go beat up boys at the advanced gi, like
advanced gi class.
It's like a seminar.
Mm-hmm.
See what I did there? It's like a seminar, but you're just training every day. Like,
yeah.
So like,
it's so important. I mean, let me preface this with, hey, you're a blue belt. You could definitely kick my ass, because you know more than I do. I'm a 2-stripe white belt, which is like halfway, not even halfway to blue belt. So like because I train so limited because of my injuries, I go maybe once a week, just to try and get there. But that's still good. That's better than nothing.
You're training more than half the people I know.
Yeah.
You're training more than Nick. Got to throw him under the bus. Thank you, Nick. Love you, Nick. Nick made all this possible. But the excuse of, well, it's expensive.
It's expensive.
The
NoCopOut is trying to cover that. Yeah. So they get affiliate gyms who agree to. The gym then agrees to pay them, instead of the $180 a month, they make the officer pay $50, which is like, that's reasonable. Like, you probably spend $50 buying coffee or lunch through your shifts throughout your month, you know. But then the best part is you pay that money up front, and then if you meet the training requirements, you get it back. So then you're training for free.
And I like that concept, because especially in the beginning, it was hard. It was hard to get there, to get beat up. I'm very hygienic, so like, to get everyone, my first day was like, well, I'm going to get sweat on. I don't believe it. I know. This is tough, rugged man. But it was tough. Not the sweat thing, but like, you going in there and you're getting choked out. You're exhausted. Your joints hurt, because you're learning something new. Your body's never moved like this. You know, but like, I'm like, man, I paid, and I gotta do this post. So I gotta show up. So like, I'm gonna do it. So like, it gives you an incentive to like, hey, go train 1 day a week. Which since then they've
So I don't know where it was when I know they've changed.
1 day a week.
It was 1 day a week. They went from 1 day a week, and then they went up to 2 times a week.
I saw that.
And then they've now changed it, and they're stuck to they dropped it. We finalized that at 8 sessions in a month, whenever that comes across. So like, they were doing it, you had to go 2 times in a week, and like, that was just challenging, particularly with like the shift work of law enforcement. Like, if you're on a rotating schedule in your department, like, you might have a week where you're working during all of the times that your gym is offering classes. And so they're like, you know what, let's not require them to go per week, 8 for the month. That's it, which equates to around 2 a week, but you get into pick. So if you have a week where you're off, you can go 4 or 5 times that week and make up that difference.
Or back-to-back
classes. You know? Yeah.
That's interesting. So it's changed again, but also, at a minimum, you're asking for 2 hours, 8 hours a month.
8 hours a month.
8 hours a month, which is crazy, because in Pennsylvania, the required defensive tactics is 4 hours a year,
That's nuts.
which was instituted a couple years ago. Which I was like, man, we had nothing. Now we have 4 hours.
Yeah, right.
Cool. What's the curriculum? Handcuffing. Okay. All right. Okay. I guess we can work with that.
Yeah.
And like, I made a big joke about it, but I like the ins and outs of things. So I dive into why is handcuffing. Oh my goodness. I went to the academy to do this handcuffing for in-service members. And what I saw was like, and this is why. And this is why our first thing is handcuffing.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that too as you brought it up. I'm like, yeah, handcuffing, that's so simple. It was like, but it's not. Like, there's still mechanics to it, like the best way to do it so you can do it one-handed and not have to bring other hand in anything.
The majority of lawsuits for a department involve handcuffing incidents.
Interesting. I did not know that.
Not double locking, putting them too tight, putting the handcuffs on it inappropriate. If you're rolling with someone, your handcuffs should not be out. How many times do we see, hey, turn around, well, hold on, and then the cop has his handcuffs out. What are you doing with this? Like, you're introducing something that he can use.
I go back and I look at some of my first like arrests, my MVRs, my mobile video recorder, my dash cam, essentially. I look at some of those and I've watched some of them, and like when I had like 1 year on, and I'm pulling my handcuffs out before they even have their hands behind the back. And I'm looking, I'm like, what the hell am I doing?
I was guilty of it.
And that's because I didn't have the mindset for that training yet. And it didn't shift until probably around that time when they implemented that 4-hour training, and they brought it back in. But like, it's crucial. Yeah.
And that's the thing, like, it's dumb, quote unquote. This is what I hear. Oh, it's dumb. But then you go to teach it, you go to do it, and you're like, man, you can't even handcuff your partner who's letting you do this in a controlled environment.
Mm-hmm.
But you're telling us that, but you want to go out there on the street and try to handcuff someone who may be like, whoa, hold on, what's going? Like, that's why all these lawsuits happen. And then they changed it to the handcuffing, and then one technique of your own that you submit to them. So we're like, oh, this is where we use, ground control or something. Like, now we can start instituting. And then our department was just like, hey, like, I love what you guys are doing. Let's do quarterly defensive tactics training. So I'm like, okay. And then we're like, can we do a grappling club too? He's like, yeah, sure. And our chief at the time was rolling. So he'd come down, and we're like, oh man, I'll get to beat the chief up. Like,
that's awesome.
Hey, I didn't like, you denied my leave the other day.
Yeah.
So like, that's where I took a lot of frustration.
Like, I can't speak to like where my department is right now, because again, I've been on medical for 5 years, but like before then, like, we didn't have the grappling club. We only did the defensive tactics at our mandatory in-service training every year. But like, nobody took it seriously. I remember like my last in-service training, they were teaching us break falls, because they were trying to start implementing the jiu-jitsu aspect and like that type of stuff into the academy. And they were teaching break falls. And like, I was myself, I'm like, I don't even know this. Like, this seems silly. I mean, it wasn't until after the fact, I'm like, you know what? Like, that's watching people fall down and not do it properly. Like, dude, you can get really messed up from a bad fall.
What do we as cops do when someone rushes us? We backpedal. Back, and then we fall.
Then you fall.
Like turtles.
Yeah.
I was 230. I'm 218 now. I just weighed myself the other day. It's a little sad, but I'm slimming. But I'm like a turtle on my back. So I had to learn jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
He's laughing. It's true. He's like, yeah, it's true. You're a turtle. But if you don't know how to fall, you don't know how to control the ground. You don't know when someone's on top of you. You're gonna panic. And when you panic, you make decisions that can alter many lives.
Yeah.
So it's very important to train. You being involved with now, having the privilege of talking with other departments and agencies, how important is training in law enforcement, and what have you seen across the board?
It's you can't emphasize how important training is. It's just one of those careers, one of those jobs, one of those things that you sign up for where you have to train. Like, and I don't train nearly enough. I didn't train nearly enough when I was on the job, and like that mentality shifted. Like, you have to train, and whatever that means for you, even if it's just going to the gym and lifting weights to keep your body in shape. Like, that's still training, and that's still important. And you got to find what that is. Maybe start small. Maybe like, I don't want to do jiu-jitsu yet because I'm just scared about it. Like, okay, cool, whatever, that's fine. Like, it's silly, but it's fine. Do something. Go for a run.
Isn't that interesting?
Like,
jiu-jitsu's scary.
Yeah, like
to people
who arrest people and fight with people on the regular. Like they don't want to do it. Like, oh, I'm gonna get hurt. Okay, would you rather get hurt there or like get hurt when you're fighting someone on the street and then not be able to keep yourself like safe?
But like I was guilty of it too. I did MMA in college. I did 3 fights, loved it. Never had jiu-jitsu experience, kind of just striking, boxing, and I'd roll with dudes and they'd beat me up and then I'd go in a cage and try my luck, which I got very lucky, thankfully. But I left it at that because after that, there's no more luck. And then I get into Adopt a Cop and I got to find a gym. I find a gym and I'm like, damn, man, like this, all these people just breaking limbs. They're going to break limbs and chokes. And like I had that intimidating factor, you know, but like also I was like, man, there's no excuse for me not to train. It's essentially free. I'm here and my job requires it. Like I am not training and I'm
even if it doesn't like, even the job doesn't like actively require it because it's not written in like your job description or something, like the job itself demands it. It demands the training.
And what do we hear when we tell, and I hear this all the time, I'm like, hey, come train. Why would I come train? I have a gun.
I have a taser.
Yeah, I have a taser.
Yeah, like how many times does that not work?
And then this is gonna hit home for some people because I've spoken to some of you and you've hit me with that, and it's like the first thing I say is, well, let's go try it out. Let's go try it out. I have blue guns, sim guns, like we can make it as close to realistic as possible. Mm-hmm. Let's see how well you do.
Yeah.
The majority of the time, your gun becomes mine. And I'm only like you. I'm a blue belt. You say you're only 2. I'm only a blue belt. Yeah. There's purple belts, black belts. There's people who've been training for 10, 15 years. People who wrestled in high school and college. There's people who watch the UFC and they're like, I want to be in the UFC.
I can do that.
And they go and train. Like, you don't know who's training. The majority of the people at our gyms are video gamers and like accountants.
Yeah,
and they can destroy it.
I think that's the other note that a lot of officers don't recognize is it's not like, I'm better than because I have my gun, I have my taser, whatnot. It's like, yeah, but you don't know what that guy that you're trying to arrest is doing. Like you could be arresting a 90-pound female, but she might be a black belt, a 4-stripe black belt in jiu-jitsu and can just kick your ass. And you're like, I got her because she's tiny. Like you don't know, you have no idea. And like, so why wouldn't you try and prepare yourself for those situations?
That was my first jiu-jitsu experience, by the way. 120-pound chick at our gym. And I was my thickest. I was 235. And I fought all the time growing up. I'm like, I'll be fine. Man, when I tell you I was gassed, and there was a moment in time where I was like, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. And I just kept ripping her arms off using strength. And she just, leg came up, arm came up. And it got to a point where I was on my knees, and then I was laying down. And then I did the little thing they tell you to do when you're scared and you want to stop. I tapped. And I'm like, holy crap. Like, I need to take this serious.
Yeah.
You know, and she was like a graphic designer.
Yeah. And
like there was no reason for her to train this hard. Like
it's real.
You know, because you try to get your ego back. So, what do you do for a living? I said, I do graphics. So I'm like, why are you training? Oh, it's fun. You do this for fun as a hobby. I do this for a living, and like I'm supposed to like I have a job that's kind of serious. Not to say hers isn't, but like, and I'm not taking this serious.
Yeah. Yeah, and so like one of the things that I've found and learned from this too is like as the popularity of the sport of jiu-jitsu grows, that means more people are going to be training it, which means that more officers should also be training it. And so there's been a big shift from what I've been finding, you know, volunteering with Adopt a Cop and doing what my wife and I are doing, like is the opportunities for law enforcement to find jiu-jitsu training is growing. Even the fact that you just said like your department has a grappling club. 5 years ago, those didn't exist. 10 years ago, jiu-jitsu was a foreign concept. Nowadays, we've got nonprofits that are paying people to get sponsored. We've got gyms who give free, like will take any officer on and train them completely for free and never charge them because they see the importance. We've got other companies using jiu-jitsu type things to help train them. Like we've got Invictus, we've got EFC, we've got OSS, we've got all these companies that are doing these things. And then all these other police jiu-jitsu clubs are spawning everywhere. We've got the New Jersey LEO Jiu-Jitsu nonprofit who hosts free open mats for law enforcement. We've got the Delaware Police Jiu-Jitsu Club, Massachusetts Police Jiu-Jitsu Club. Like they're popping up everywhere. So like it's because it's necessary.
Yeah, well, a lot of our gyms here in the area are doing the same thing. Like one gym will do Fridays, law enforcement, you can come in and we'll train you. Sundays for another gym. So like you can essentially get free training minimum 3 days a week if you hit up a different one as an officer.
Yeah.
Like, and that's them putting their time out, their coaches who they've trained, you know, and a lot of the coaches in these gyms are law enforcement.
Yeah. Or have brothers or sisters or cousins or something in it. Like they've been around for so long. They see the absolute benefit of it, you know, and even bring it back to like your initial point of how community is first. Like training at a jiu-jitsu gym, like you have said, you as a police officer, you're the minority in that gym. You are actively engaging with the community and making yourself better and making those relationships, those friendships with the people who probably live in the area that you're patrolling.
Yeah.
Like that's the community first. And then you're also getting the benefit for yourself.
That's a good point. You know, you're talking with these people, you're interacting with them, and then comes out you're having the guy who maybe you have arrested him before for drug charges, or he has been arrested before and he's using jiu-jitsu as his outlet to get better with that. And cops
versus stoners. Yeah, like it's a real thing.
That's
like,
a real thing.
It's a real event. And like Adopt a Cop benefited from that one year. They wrote a $10,000 check to them because they literally pinned stoners against police officers and had them fight each other. And it was just like a mutually happy event, and like because it just
was happy for a certain group, but that's
awesome. Real though. Like that's a community driven aspect that, again, another thing that gets lost when you're thinking about jiu-jitsu, because you're only so worried like, oh, they're gonna break my leg.
And also it takes away from we're up here and you're over here. Like I think that's another huge thing about the gym, because I'll talk to people even like with you know, I'm heavily in the public now, unfortunately, and like. People are like, I had no idea you were a cop. And I'm like, really? With all the things I talk about. Like, I had no idea. You're just so cool. You're laid back. I'm like, everyone I work with is like this. You know, but when you have this perceived notion of someone, you know, but like by you going into the gyms and interacting, you're training, people are like, oh, wow, you're getting after. You're a cop. Like, oh, well, I do this. Oh, cool. Now we're bridging that gap of like the hierarchy of like, oh, we're cops. And
it's like it's taken that movement that like cops are monsters and turning them like, oh, you know, they are humans. Oh, and they do the things that I also do. And I can beat him up. You're like, well, we actually have these mutual interests, and like, oh, he's just trying to do his job the best. Like it helps bring, like you said, bring that together, bridge that gap,
which is important. And you're saying about all these new training companies and stuff. Yeah. Between you and your wife, you have this, I think, is an amazing thing. That's going to be it. It's Seminar Stack.
Yeah.
They gave me a shirt. Yeah, that's actually a cool shirt. But Seminar Stack. What is Seminar Stack? What's the goal of Seminar Stack? And how can cops, people, defensive tactics enthusiasts, how can people benefit from Seminar Stack?
Yeah. So through the injury time off, you know, and losing my sanity of being home for so long and missing police work and missing that passion and stuff, like my wife, in her infinite wisdom and business mindset, was like, let's do this thing called Seminar Stack. And so we essentially created she created, that I helped with, a 1-day event of just seminars. That's why it's seminars. You can stack your seminars, build your own schedule of the stuff that you want to learn. And it's focused around law enforcement training with a heavy influence from jiu-jitsu, but then we're adding in all these other elements too that are necessary for law enforcement, like nutrition and mobility and, you know, breath work and all these other kind of things. So like, and we run all of those seminars through what we call our free seminar series, which this year we're able to offer them for free because we have a sponsorship from Next Generation Personal Training, which is by us, and like some of the best trainers in our area or in state or in the ever. They're great.
Bold claim. I like it.
They sponsored that series so we can offer free seminars for people. And then like we have free, yeah. And then the other side of things, like our jiu-jitsu side, we're bringing in these companies like Invictus and trying to get to EFC, trying to get to OSS, like all these other people, having them in, do a 1-hour seminar, like a teaser seminar essentially for like how they teach. And you come in, you can take it. It's $50.
That's a
like,
cool concept.
And we're trying to get them approved through the states. That way we have one that's approved right now, and we have 4 potentials that are pending to get approved through CLE and through MOPEC. So that way officers can it counts towards their continuing law enforcement education.
So now you're getting credit for
Now
this.
you can get credit for it too. Another reason to not an excuse anymore. Like, and so it's this whole day event, like expo style event with seminars happening, and there'll be a row of vendors for people to sell their merch. Like we've reached out and gotten a bunch of donations to stuff that we'll be giving away to that, and it's all to raise money for Adopt-A-Cop so that Adopt-A-Cop can then sponsor more officers and get more officers training. So it kind of just goes full circle.
And they start coming to
They start coming to seminars. Yeah.
See,
It goes full circle.
business minded. I love it.
Yep.
But also, it takes away all the hesitation. Oh, they're too. I don't like how they do. Okay, we got this company over here.
Yep.
You'll like
their style. Yeah. Like maybe you don't like the way that Invictus teaches, but you love the way that EFC does, or maybe you don't like the owner of EFC for whatever reason. Like he's a great guy, but like maybe you just didn't vibe with him. Okay, here's Officer Survival Series.
Yeah,
you can go there.
Scare me, Jay.
Like, or maybe maybe Officer Survival Series doesn't teach in your area, so now you've got C4C PJJ, and like there's all these things. Like Seminar Stack, we're trying to bring all of these pieces together into one event, so you can taste test all of them and see which one fits you.
Or maybe
And
you
then-
always want to go to C4C, and you're like,
You just can't get out there.
yeah, not all they're going to be here. That's
They're gonna be-
perfect
yeah.
time. That's awesome. And then you're having a jiu-jitsu tournament.
Right.
Throughout the day.
This year we had it. This is our second year for Seminar Stack, and we just added in a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournament, which will be going all day long. There's cash brackets for it this year, and there's a first responder only cash bracket too. So if you don't want to fight people who might be criminals, you can go in and fight other first responders, and compete with them. And that tournament is being sponsored by this awesome company called Game Day Men's Health. And they, everyone knows their stats. They don't know how many wings you ate last weekend, or how your fantasy football team, your ranking is right there. But a lot of people don't know where their testosterone levels are, or hormone levels, or those kind of things. And Game Day Men's Health focuses on getting those tests, and those levels come in 15-minute in, out, no waiting rooms, come in, do an evaluation, free blood test, and then they'll be like, hey, here's where you're at, here's what you can do to make it better. So they're sponsoring that tournament,
Dude, that's all. So you're training, you have this company that kind of works on the inside, you have the defensive tactics work on the outside, you have the breathing treatments, I saw there was yoga, mobility, is it yoga? I don't want to miss.
So the mobility one is it's not necessarily yoga. It's more about stretching, but strength and stretching, joints and stuff like that. So taking your joints to its fullest extent and then tensing it there, so that way it helps that range of motion as well.
That might
The yoga one we have.
Because look at this mobility.
Yeah, so it'll help you with that. Even if and it's less about trying to push the mobility and more about getting it stronger at its peak. But we also have a yoga one this year too, and it's called blind yoga. So I guess her tag is it's feeling not seeing. So it's you literally go in, they put blindfolds on you, and you do a whole yoga class. And so it's also takes away, so you're not being embarrassed by being super not flexible, but you're also you're feeling how your muscles are like that. So
No, actually that's good, because I don't want people to see me sweating from just standing up. It's that. Yeah, use the blindfolds for sure. I'll be peeking though.
yeah, it's a cool event.
So when you're at church and they say close your eyes, you're like, is everyone's eyes actually closed?
Yeah, it's a cool event. We're pretty excited for it.
When is it?
It's August 2nd this year, August 2nd, 2025. And this year we're at the Hollywood Casino in Grantville, Pennsylvania, which is basically outside of Hershey. It's the Hollywood Casino in Hershey, essentially. But we'll have 3 floors of stuff going on. Second floor is the tournament with Game Day Men's Health. Third floor is vendor row, where all of our vendors will be. And then that's also where we have our speakers. So we have a speaker doing one on post-traumatic success, how to use trauma and succeed through it, which is great for law enforcement. That one is officially CLE approved right now.
So this isn't just self-defense. You have the whole
We're
gamut
doing
of
mental health, wellness, fitness, self-defense, sport, jiu-jitsu. We're trying to encompass everything, again, to bring that community together.
And what better way to foster? And now, speaking of community, let's say me, I love self-defense and jiu-jitsu, and now I get to go and be with hundreds and thousands of people who think like me.
Yeah.
Who want to train and want to push themselves, and Now you get to bounce ideas and training tactics with not only companies who do this for a living, but everyone else who does it as practitioners and train. Like you get from different worlds. And not only that, especially in the law enforcement world, it's so cool. I went to EFC training in Jersey, met amazing group of people. This was last year. We still talk on Instagram and like follow each other. Like, hey, what do you do? Oh, I'm going to this training. It's like you literally build a community.
Yeah.
You know, and then how crazy is it when you're at work and you're dealing with something and they're out of Newark, New Jersey, and you're like,
I got a guy
in Newark.
Yeah.
Hey, bro, what's going on with you?
Yep. Yeah.
So like it helps your law enforcement career in other ways.
Yeah. Outside of just the training itself. It's pretty cool.
Dude, that's awesome. So you guys are, you know, you got into law enforcement for the right reasons. You know, something happened that kind of changed your trajectory, and instead of buying out, you're like, no, I'll still be involved.
How can I still be involved? How can I make a difference even still while I'm fixing my 24/7 headache?
Fixing the industry while fixing yourself. That's the motto of today. But no, it's cool. Adopt a cop, and now with Seminar Stack. And how can people, you know, someone's listening to this and they're like, man, maybe I should check it out. Like, how can people get involved with either Adopt a Cop, Seminar Stack, or training in general? What would you recommend? I'm scared of jiu-jitsu. What do I do? How do I get in there?
Yeah. So if you're scared of jiu-jitsu, you're scared of training, I always recommend going to the Adopt a Cop, adoptacopbjj.org. They have on their gyms, there's a gyms tab, and there's an affiliate gym interactive map. It'll use your location, boop, and it tells you all the affiliate gyms that are around you. Being an affiliate gym of Adopt a Cop means that they're already law enforcement friendly, right? So like that takes a big aspect out of it. If you don't want to use the Adopt a Cop one for any reason, Invictus LEO, I think they're .com, but if you search Invictus LEO, their website, they also have a list of affiliate gyms, and it's the same thing, already law enforcement friendly. So like just go train. Most of these gyms offer a free trial class. You might walk into the mat and be like, nope, this is 1000% not for me. Cool, at least you tried. You know, at least you tried. You can mark that off. Like, I tried it once. I'm not going to go back. And then maybe try it again in a year. Or maybe you'll be one of your buddies who will get sponsored by Adopt a Cop and be like, hey, dude, no, you're going to come. And like, you're already going to try it. It's like, no, you're going to try it with me now. And it might, maybe that'll change. So like, that's one way. If you want to assist with Adopt a Cop, they're a completely donation-run nonprofit. They have events listed on their website that they're doing to raise money. If you don't want to just donate directly, follow them on social media. Their tag is Adopt a Cop BJJ. Super simple. That's one way you can support them. Buying their merch, even if you don't want to donate, buy their merch, goes right to the officers.
They have rash guards,
flags, and then they're trying to get back into like the t-shirts, hoodies, patches, like the whole kit. They're just struggling a little bit right now to get that inventory restocked.
It's a good problem to have when you run out of everything.
Yeah. And then for Seminar Stack, again, the event is on August 2nd. There is but cool thing that we're doing with it too is we want people to be there. We want people to get trained. We're not charging you for a seminar until you step onto the mat. So like, if you want to come watch, you can come sit on the side and watch the entire training. We're only charging you to get the hands-on training because we want people there. That's how much we want this training to work. So come to the event, walk through vendor row, talk to some of the people, talk to the instructors. They'll be there all day. Go watch the jiu-jitsu tournament for a little bit and then pop up and sit for 30 minutes of the handcuffing seminar.
Worst case scenario, you're at the Hollywood's casino.
Yeah, and you're like, this is dumb. You can go gamble a little bit. And then when you lose your money, you can go back up and watch some more seminars.
Well, and that's the sad thing. You'll go spend $200 on the floor. On the floor, but you won't spend the $50
for a seminar. Yeah.
All right, no cop out, no excuses.
Yeah,
it's easy to start training, right? There's all these gyms that are welcoming people in. There's free trials. There's the Adopt a Cop program. Now there's Seminar Stack. And if you train and you're one of those people who you actively train and because I was this way and you're like, man, you don't want to train, you're bummed. Like that's what's stopping people from training. Like be that guiding light to give, because at the end of the day, this is going to be your backup. So if you're not pushing people to want to better themselves and train, you're essentially shooting yourself in the foot. No pun intended. That was very well placed. But you're shooting yourself in the foot by not bringing these people in to train, because that's going to be your backup. This is going to be the people. And then this is what I always say. If we had, as cops, the ability to go, we get a call, right? and you respond to a call, pissed off subject in a parking lot. Okay, you're driving there. You're gonna, in your mind, like, I'm gonna go talk to him. If we had the ability to go, how is this gonna play out right now? You get there, dude beats your face in. Now you're off the job, injured, because you didn't take an hour a week to go train, right? And then an option popped up, and they're like, well, if you train for an hour a week, this is how it would go. Play this option, and you play that, and it's like, oh, you hold the male down, you know. You get them cuffed, you get them taken care of, you take them to the hospital because obviously going through a mental break. Boom. You go home the next day, all's fine. Which option will you choose? A or B? Everyone would pick B.
Everyone would pick B. Yeah.
But there's always that possibility. And we know that. Yeah. There's always a possibility your ticket gets punched when you go to work.
Yep.
But we don't take the steps right now to train, eat better, work on our mental health, you know, learn case law, whatever it is that's required to be a cop. We don't, a lot of us just, I show up to work. Work was fine today. I had 10 calls, frauds, and a neighbor dispute. I shot a raccoon while I was at it. Like, why do I need to go train? Tomorrow's going to be the same. Tomorrow's going to be the same. And then guess what?
Yeah. You're like, oh, it's not going to happen in my city because all that stuff only happens in the big cities. It's like, well, how many of these critical incidents are happening in these small town Pennsylvania or a small town anywhere? Dude, like it's very, very real, and it's something you got to be prepared for.
A couple years ago, we had a chief in the area killed. My buddy personally was shot. A couple months later, another officer was shot and killed in the same area, in a similar area down here. And we are ones that go, wow, nothing happened. Only the things happen in the city. The city deals with all that stuff. Everyone else, we deal with stuff that's like, it's managed. And then you get two stuff like that just shook our area.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, what are we doing to, maybe we don't prevent that from happening, but we're better equipped to deal with the situation when it comes. You know? So, that being said, this is supposed to be 30 to 45 minutes, but we like to talk. So, I appreciate you for coming on and kind of sharing your story and kind of sharing with everyone. Adopt a Cop seminar stack. There's no excuses. You know, train. And if you guys listening want to see us talk about anything, or we're big on. I'm big on communication. So if you didn't like something and you were offended by something, talk to me. DM me. Hey, I didn't like this. This is how we approach. This is what it's about. Fostering the conversations that we tend to stray away from because it's gonna hurt someone or offend someone. Or no, you can't offend me unless you call me fat. But people do that anyway. So, open the conversation up. This is going to be once a month. They're going to be released. The goal is the last Monday of every month, the episodes drop.
Cool.
And that gives us the time to get feedback in and then tailor the next episode to create something that's going to benefit people, right? Like, we don't just want to put out stuff to listen to us talk. I hate talking, but I talk a lot because I'm Puerto Rican, but I love listening more than I like talking. So, Eric, appreciate you jumping on. Thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah, I'm happy to do it.
And we're out. Later.